Okay. We have no written communications and no public hearings on today's agenda. We have 2 administrative reports on today's agenda. Item 9 is to consider a resolution declaring an intent to assist federal immigration authorities. Will the city manager please tell us about this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, if we can pull up my presentation. On December 10th of last year, the City Council had a meeting in which they directed staff to do 2 things. One is to prepare a letter to the Attorney General for the state of California asking for some clarification. And the second is to prepare a resolution for City Council consideration on whether the city should declare its intent to assist with federal immigration authorities under the authority of SB 54. And so I'll kind of walk through that a little bit right now, and I'll kind of go, I'll provide a little bit of background about SB 54. Then I'll also share some highlights from the letter that was sent to Attorney General Banta, and then also I will present the resolution that staff has drafted for your consideration and any modifications you may want to make to that. So just so you know, in 2017, the California Values Act, or SB 54, or the AKA Sanctuary State Act, was approved by the state and signed by Governor Brown at the time. The intent of SB 54 is to really limit local government's ability to interact with federal law enforcement agencies when it comes to anything immigration related. Very specifically, it does kind of big 2 things. One, it prevents law enforcement agencies from doing a slew of things, which I'll go through. But then it does allow cooperation in certain cases where there are serious crimes, or in other words, violent felonies. But specifically, there's really 4 areas that we're prohibited from participating in as it stands under SB 54. One is that we cannot detain individuals because of their immigration status. We cannot collect, ask for, or share information with federal immigration authorities regarding status unless there's a federal judicial warrant. And then we cannot use local funds and facilities to assist in immigration enforcement activities. And that becomes very broad because everything that we do as a city is using local funds. So that's kind of this very broad statement in SB 54, which really prevents us to do much of anything with the federal government. So since 2017, we have very little interaction with the federal government. Even at one point, we were using federal government Border Patrol agents to help with translation. We can't use those assistants anymore. So we have very little contact with the federal government when it comes to immigration enforcement. One of the challenges that we have as a local government is we have this expectation from our residents to protect our community from violent felons, but we're kind of stuck between the regulations and rules of SB 54 and also this expectation from the federal government that we are to help them as well, because there's some laws that are on the land, laws of the land, that there's an expectation that we help with. And these 2 conflicting government bodies above us put us in a really tight spot. And thus far, the courts have said that SB 54 is the rule of the law, or the rule of the land, and so we have complied with SB 54. One of the concerns that was raised by the City Council is we're now receiving some requests from the federal government to assist in immigration enforcement, specifically with those that are in the United States, not here legally, that have been convicted of a violent felony and are roaming at large. And so there's a concern about ridding our communities of those individuals, and thus far in California, local government agencies are not allowed to assist in that effort. So one of the things that the council directed staff to do is to write a letter to the Attorney General. So on December 16th, the letter was drafted and sent under the name of the mayor on behalf of the City Council, expressing the city's concerns about this hard spot that we're in. And then it really posed 4 questions. One, it said, what is SB 54's scope and expectations? How would you interpret those as the Attorney General? What is your opinion of the supremacy clause that's identified in the Supreme Court, in which says that federal law supersedes local law, and what jurisdiction does the state of California have to supersede federal immigration law. It also asked the Attorney General to provide us some guidance on how it would enforce SB 54 in the event that a city were to violate SB 54. And then it also just asked for some assistance if the federal government is putting pressure on local governments to participate in immigration. What indemnification or legal protections can the state provide our local law enforcement agents if they're being asked to do one thing that might be in violation of a state law? So those are some clarifications that we asked for. No surprise, we have not heard from Attorney General Bonta with some responses, but we're still waiting for responses to that letter. Staff was also directed by the City Council to draft a resolution. That resolution is found in your agenda packet. It does kind of, I say 5 big things. One, it declares the city's intent to assist in immigration authority under the extent of SB 54. And so right now under the extent of SB 54 is very little, but it just reemphasizes the City Council's intent to assist the federal government in helping keep our community safe. It reaffirms the city's commitment to public safety. It recognizes the need to not only build but maintain public trust with all of our community members. It also suggests that we'll continue to ask the Attorney General for clarification. And then it also identifies that the resolution, if adopted, would be distributed to the Attorney General's office, the Governor's office, and any other state and federal officials' offices. So with that, staff's here to answer any specific questions that you may have about SB 54 or about the resolution that staff has prepared for consideration.
Questions for Graham? No. Looks like you did a good job of explaining it. Let me see if there's any speaker cards on this item.
Sir, we have 8 speaker cards.
Okay.
The first one is from Eva Pacheco.
Hello, welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Eva Pacheco, resident from El Cajon for over 34 years. And the reason I'm here is regarding the resolution that you are discussing about allowing the police to collaborate with the immigration officers. And I would like to say, you say in there that this resolution reaffirms commitment to public safety. And I can tell you this is not the case for our community. Because when the police will perform those duties, the safety of our community is not in place. Because they will be feared from them that the police will act in a way that is not necessarily their duties. For example, when the police perform immigration enforcement duties, all campus, especially the school that I'm working with, they will be less likely to seek help or report to the police officers. And we have seen this not now. This is before. And now with this resolution will be worse. So, and I really, really want to know as a government body that you are here for the whole community. And with this resolution, you are excluding a part of the community. Those that documented or undocumented. Why? Because families will hesitate to call the police or to report the police. And we have seen this issue from before, but now is going to be legal. And in our point of view and our knowledge, this resolution will be illegal because we know SB 54 is the one that you need to enforce and not necessarily to put something else to allow the police to do other duties than what they are hired for. So I encourage not to pass this resolution until you really have the information. Go to the schools. Go and ask the families. Go and get the information. Because, like, for example...
Ma'am, I'm sorry, your 3 minutes are up, but thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm sorry, but you haven't cut anyone.
I'm sorry?
You haven't cut anyone speaking.
We have a whole list of people who want to speak.
Okay, but you are cutting my speech.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 3 minutes is the amount of time
Okay,
that
you
we
give
allow.
more than 3 minutes to other ones.
I'm sorry. We
Okay.
can't do that.
Thank you.
Sergio Conti.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Dr. Sergio Conti, and also have a master in public degree from the Columbia Southern University. And you don't know, maybe you believe that all the Spanish people, they don't have studies, but some of us, we have it. My wife, she's a nurse, a hospice nurse, working here in El Cajon. And we just moved to El Cajon last February. Less 1 year, but we are really enjoying this beautiful city. We like living in El Cajon. As all of you know, 30% of the population of El Cajon speak Spanish. Actually, it's 28.8%. And I don't see too many people, or you don't speak Spanish to us. And probably you believe that we understand everything what you say, but I'm sure that we just keep probably half what you say. Next time, probably you will have some kind of translation for the people who doesn't speak English. I luckily speak broken English perfectly. I hope so you can understand that in San Diego, we live 3 million people, and 50%, 1.5 million people speak Spanish in San Diego County. This is very important. From the farmers, workers in this country, 7 of the 10 farmer workers are Mexicans. You know, if you guy want to send them all to Mexico, I don't know who's going to work in the farms. Coming to this meeting, you know, we took Mollison Avenue, and I saw several city workers doing some job repairing the street. All of them look like Mexicans, you know. I'm sure you know that. We are not rapists. We are not murder. We are not delinquent. We came to this beautiful country to work hard. Our original countries, I'm originally from Argentina, for different reasons, obligate us to move to this beautiful country. Let me ask you guys, if you need to move to another country when you don't know anyone, and you don't speak the language, how you will feel? We did that. We moved here. We didn't speak the language. We left our parents, our friends, you know, and we came here for one reason: to work hard, to give a future to our sons. That's most important. My son is a second year at UCSD, trying to be a professor in history. You know, this is the kind of people that we came to this country. I just want, in conclusion, we work hard every day to make money to pay for the rent and feed our families. We don't want to cause any trouble We just want to help to make America the best country of the world. Like I say in conclusion, I'm here to oppose the resolution to assist federal immigration authorities because it will destroy the life of many families that only want to work in peace and give a future to their children. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Jesus Pacheco.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to say my message to you. And regarding the resolution, my concern is what is going to happen with the relation between the police and the community. I'm pretty sure it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for the officers, and also it's going to be hard for the community, especially the immigrant community. Most of the immigrants, they are here to make a living, to work hard, you know. I hope that you really, really reconsider this resolution, because you represent us, all of us, you know. All of us pay taxes, you know. And I try to do the best we can in this community. I have been living here for 34 years, and I've been a volunteer for 34 years, advocating for quality education, and it was a success. You know, we are about to open a new building for the middle school students. You know, and we came here, you know, as immigrants. We work hard, and we try to do the best for the community. And I'm pretty sure most of the immigrants are doing the same thing. No more, no less. But think about that, and make a reflection about that resolution, and make the right decision. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we have received a couple more cards, so we have 7 more speakers left.
Sure.
Next is Felipe Razo. Felipe Razo. Okay, the next person is Jose Cruz.
Mr. Cruz?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Well, I'm here to voice my concern about this resolution that you guys want to pass. Mexican-American, I'm a U.S. citizen, I'm a taxpayer in El Cajon. I remember I went to high school at the El Cajon Valley High School, and back in the day, in the 90s, Border Patrol could stop, and we got stopped by the police. They sent the Border Patrol. They kept us there for a couple hours until they showed up, asked for papers. I mean, just harassing us. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want my kids to deal with that. Honestly, if you're going to do that to us, then I want the police officers to ask for passports for every single citizen of El Cajon. I want you to carry your passports with you everywhere you go in case you get pulled over. I mean, that's how we feel. It's just totally uncalled for. I understand, like, there's criminals and you get them, that's fine. I don't mind. But you put the police officers in a bad situation because now they feel compelled to ask papers from everybody, especially if you look brown like me or whatever. So I'm very emotional. I'm very upset with you guys, to be honest, and disappointed more than anything else. I've never committed any crimes. I'm of Mexican descent, and I just feel very disappointed. And I know this is going to There's going to be people that, when the police officers ask them for papers, they're going to flip them over and say, it's going to create conflict. If they ask me, I'm not going to react in a really happy way. I'm telling you already. I'm a peaceful person, but I'm also not going to take these, I see it as a disrespectful act from the council, from the mayor, from the attorney. I mean, I understand the political situation, whatever it is. Our police officers are not trained to be federal officers. They don't know. And then this is just going to create a lot of distrust from the community, like a couple of the people before me said. There's going to be crimes committed that are not going to be reported because they're going to be afraid to report the crimes. Because they're going to say, hey, you report a crime for some petty thing or domestic violence or whatever else, and then they're going to call the immigration officers on you. Even if you're going to be okay like me, okay, they're not going to deport me. I'm a U.S. citizen. But still, I don't want to wait 2 hours for an immigration officer to show up and ask me for my papers. It's just, you gotta think about that, Mayor. And I voted for you, by the way.
Appreciate
and it just breaks my heart, to be honest with you. I want to hear your comments, to be honest with you.
I will, when you're finished.
Yeah. So that's the main thing. I have a 7-year-old boy. I don't want him to grow up in a place feel like a police state against brown people. That's how I feel, and that's how I'm taking this. It's just like I feel like I'm in a police state. I've lived here my whole life. If this thing passes, I might reconsider that, sell my house and move, to another place.
I just want to clarify what this is about.
I understand what it is about.
This is not about taking our police force and turning them into Border Patrol agents. This is about cooperating with the federal government and following the law. California is asking us to ignore the law of the federal government. That puts us in a very bad position. This is all this is about, is doing our duty to the Constitution.
But as a Republican, we always talk about small government, leaving the federal government outside of our lives. This is a community, local community. This is a local issue. It's not a federal issue. We're not jumping over the fence right here in El Cajon.
But it's not for us to decide. But
it is for you guys to decide, and for us to try to vote you out next time. You know what I mean?
I understand, but I just want to make sure that you're understood that this is not about taking our police department and turning them into an enforcement agency for the Border Patrol.
It's happened to me.
This is about working with the federal government.
I'm talking from personal experience, Mayor. As a 14-year-old, it's not fun when they're asking you, hey, where's your papers? You don't even have your school ID on you. It's like so stupid,
I understand.
It's happened to me. So this is why I know it's going to happen again. I know you're coming in with the best of intentions, but it's going to have negative ramifications. And it's going to create conflict that our police officers do not need. Especially most Latinos are peaceful people. I know there are some crazy people in every community. You're going to be diverting funds from trying to take care of the homelessness to rounding up people, That's money that's coming from the city.
That's not the intention at all. So I just want to be clear.
There's money that's going to be needed for that. It's going to be coming from the funds of the city.
Well, let's go ahead and hear everybody else, but I just want to be absolutely clear. The intention is not to take our police department and start rounding people up. That's not the intention at all. It's only about cooperating with the federal government and the laws of the United States of America. So
yeah. I know that's the intention, but that's not going to be the outcome. I promise you that.
Thank you.
Violet Lombera.
Hi, City Council. Again, it's me. I'm here to talk about this as well. I'm totally against it. And the thing is, because when you guys say illegal immigrants, it attacks personally the Latino and Mexican community. It's going to attack us. Personally, I've been stopped as well. I've been harassed. And waiting, it's not fun. I was born and raised here in Brawley, California, a small town, Brawley, California. I decided to move to El Cajon in 2010 By then, I thought that racial profiling had stopped, but obviously it didn't. It continued all through my life. And I'm a good citizen. I do a lot for the community. I don't want that to happen again. You guys really need to reconsider. We're trying to bind with the community, and doing this is really going to separate us, divide us. It's going to attack my community, my Latinos, my Mexican Americans. Because that's who, when you guys say illegal, automatically, what do they think? It's a Mexican. And it's not that way here we're very diverse. But who is the people who are going to be hurt and felt by this? It's the Mexicans. We're the ones who, if I have brown skin, I've been attacked. I've been segregated. I've been racial profiled before. This cannot continue. You guys really need to reconsider this. We have worked so much with the community, like I said, to bring law enforcement together with our community, and to do this, it's really going to hurt everybody in our community. I would really like for you guys to really reconsider this motion. And I know that you say it's not to have law enforcement as the Border Patrol, but it is. That's your guys' intention, to stop us and to detain us and ask us for our citizenship. And like he said, I'm going to retaliate, and it's not going to be good. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Pedro Rios. Pedro Rios.
Oh, sir, welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Pedro Rios. I am director of the American Foreign Service Committee's U.S.-Mexico Border Program. We have contact with many different residents from throughout the county, including here in the city of El Cajon. We've been working with community members in El Cajon now for 2 decades or more. And I'm here to say that considering passing this resolution is not only a mistake, but it's also showing your true colors. There's a missing point to that draft resolution there, which I would add was point number 6 that the city manager presented. Point number 6 would be fear-mongering. This resolution aspires to be a fear-mongering resolution to ensure that a certain population in the city of El Cajon lives in fear, that they will not be able to freely walk around the city, shop around the city, drive around the city without the prospect of being stopped and questioned about their status, based on the title that you want to the extent possible, work with federal immigration authorities to detain people. If we were to base ourselves, and I should add that the city manager seemed disappointed that police officers could not use Border Patrol as translators, when those of us that have worked on this issue for years know that that's the pretext for having Border Patrol translate to detain people to then face deportation, removal, cause untold suffering because families are separated. That's the sole purpose of using Border Patrol as translators, as though the city did not have their own Spanish-speaking employees to translate. I wanted to make that point clear to the city manager. Why do I believe this is fear-mongering? Because if we take your statements, Mayor, that you've made in the past, your statements have been, we're going to lose this country. We had almost 20 million people come across the border illegally. It just shows that you're misinformed. The people that are coming to this country, most of them that have come over the past 2 years, are seeking asylum. Seeking asylum is a legal right, and I implore you to read and understand the laws of this country before engaging in fear-mongering and causing resolutions that are creating so much trauma in the community. Your constituents, everyone's constituents here. And so, another comment, we need to wake up and take care of this, or we're going to lose this country completely, and a lot of us are going to lose our lives. That's the backdrop and the context for this resolution. Let's not make a mistake here. Reject this resolution. Stand with your constituents, and not with fear-mongering talking heads that only wish to get in the evening news. Thank you.
We have three more speakers, sir. Salvador Sarmiento.
Hey, good evening. My name is Salvador Sarmiento. I'm the policy director for an organization called the National Day Labor Organizing Network. We work with day laborers and worker centers across the country. I think I'll give you all the benefit of the doubt and assume it was with good intentions. Some of those comments that were just repeated really undermine the good intentions. But we all know the phrase, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Our organization has been one of the organizations that has litigated a bunch of these policies, a bunch of these resolutions over the years. And that is because, as Mayor, sir, you were saying, we need to defend the law. And so ICE has repeatedly over the last 20 years issued ICE detainers, warrants that are not backed by probable cause. And so when they ask localities to pick somebody up, to hold somebody, to arrest somebody without probable cause, and we sue, and we will sue, as we did sue Los Alamitos in 2017 when they tried to do something similar like this. ICE doesn't pay, right? The city pays. And so what y'all are doing right now is, it's to be clear, it is a publicity stunt. That's the only reason this is happening right now. There will be a cost to the city. And I know you all care about El Cajon. I will take you at your word for that. You love the city. Don't make this the only thing that people hear about El Cajon for the next 2, 3, 4 years. El Cajon is a beautiful, I know people that live here, and you all know your neighbors. It's a beautiful place to live and raise your kids. Do not make this policy, this effort, this anti-immigrant, despicable, ugly effort where you're basically following the lead of some wealthy, corrupt politician out of Mar-a-Lago, South Florida. Don't make this the only thing that people know about El Cajon for the next 10 years, right? Because what will happen is we're going to look at the policy, and if they're actually, most of this, it's like, reaffirm what the state law says, like, well, yeah, that's just symbolic. So if it's symbolic, it's still going to have a damaging to your reputation, both your individual reputations and the reputation of the city of El Cajon. And if there's actually any actual policy in this thing, then we're going to sue. And so the impact isn't just going to be on your reputations, individuals, and for the city of El Cajon, but it's also going to be, if you really do care about the resources, the funding of the city of El Cajon, then make sure you're not going to get sued. This is it's a waste of city resources. And again, I want to take you at your word that you do care about the people of El Cajon, about the neighborhoods, about the community that you're trying to build here, right? If the country is so divided right now, and this is what you choose to do, we're El Cajon, y'all are so much better than this. And I hope that you dig deep and you say no today, and you look for a second path, right? Like, because in the division that we're faced with, El Cajon could be a better example than this. You're better than this. I really believe that. I really do. Thanks so much.
Mr. Mayor, one moment. I'd like to have a conversation with you offline. If you wouldn't mind leaving your information, I'd like to get together with you. Thanks.
Sir, we have three more cards. The next one is Adriana Hasso.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adriana Hasso. I work for the Office of the American Friends Service Committee. Our program has supported community members here in El Cajon. And a few years ago, we held meetings with your chief of police on the implementation of SB 54. At that conversation, we highlighted the need for community members to have trust, to be able to communicate, to be able to have knowledge of the differences between the different agencies and the levels of authorities from the state to the county to the city. And as all the speakers have said, this is a community that everyone embraces and that people are raising their families, working and going about their lives just like us, anybody else. The proposition of declaring the intention to assist with federal authorities will set you apart from the rest of the county and can potentially also bring the spotlight of a community that is anti-immigrant, anti-worker, anti-families. And when you hear people telling you that they voted for you and that they have the best intentions to continue to build a community in the year of 2025, when we know there are so many other emergencies, there are so many other realities, and that you choose to anticipate harm, add to the anxiety and the uncertainty to people who may be in the country without documents. Think about the mixed status families. Think about what message you're sending to school children. And we hope again, and we ask that you reconsider and that you think and know and process the fact that you are representatives of all of El Cajon, not just a certain number of people in El Cajon, but all the families, all the school children, all the workers, and everybody who's committed to this as a community. So we ask, and I ask, that you oppose the resolution and that you continue to pave the way of a more united, more at peace community that everyone deserves. Thank you.
Two more cards, sir. The next one is Arlette Reyes.
Afternoon, council members, mayor. I kind of want to focus on SB 54, but it's going to kind of bring up a little bit more towards a little part of the homelessness. I do understand that your concern is to help the federal law, which is totally understandable. I feel as an American citizen who have earned my spot here in this country to follow it through. But as also a migrant, that I came here because my parents felt that it was more of an opportunity to come to this country to be able to establish a better life. Unfortunately, Mexico, when I was younger, didn't really have as many opportunities for women as the United States does. I didn't even know I didn't have those opportunities. But I did grow up seeing how police will, whether we want to or not, they're human beings, and they have bias, and they have grown up with ideas and thoughts, and 1970, 1960 is really not that far away. We've barely gone past the whole, you can't speak Spanish in schools. We barely got past through segregation. So some of those mentalities are still in other people, and those people will pass it on unwillingly to their children, to their grandchildren, which I can understand because it's a way of thought. But the fact is, I will not be looked at like a citizen. I will be looked at as a immigrant. And they will not look at me as a person. If someone has a bias towards brown people, or even the last name, as you can know, all of you guys have foreign names. The only ones that really had a right in this country, or even in the state, are the Kumeyaay. Our brothers and sisters were here first. So if anybody has a right to say, you don't belong here, it's them. But yet they didn't. They accepted migrants. They accepted them as family and friends. And in exchange, they received violence. So I don't want my child to have violence presented to her. My daughter is African American, Mexican American, and I love it. But sometimes I feel sad because as an African American, she will go through struggles. And as a Mexican American, she will go through struggles because that's all they're going to see. They're not going to see a possible professional soccer player or a nurse like me. I love my job. As a nurse, I see that one of the things that the city should focus on is homelessness. It's getting bad. And sadly, most of them are legal citizens, born and raised here, 7th, 10th generation. We really need to focus on that instead. You know, our money should go into that instead. Our children should not be concerned about whether a guy down the street that's camped out might help out on you because he's so high-strung on something, he's going to stab you, like not so long
Yes,
ago.
if you could wrap it up, your three,
Yes.
your 3 minutes.
Yes, like so long ago, not too long ago, about 4 months ago, an older Middle Eastern gentleman got attacked by a high-strung up man in front of his grandchild. I think that's more concerning than worrying about if I'm legal or not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our last speaker is Brenda Hammond.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi. I would invite everybody to look up the Lemon Grove incident. Well, I'll let you look it up because I'm not going to waste my time on that. Most of my friends are Mexican Americans, and most of them have been here. They came here when their kids were very young because they needed to get away from whatever problem they had to get away from. And so their kids are all grown and they're like grandparents now, you know. So Mayor Wells, I think you should just clarify what this means. I mean, I think everybody thinks they're going to get kicked out, and that's not what's going to happen. I mean, the next president has a lot of people working for him. He's not going to kick everybody out of this country. He just wants to get rid of the bad people. And just because you're brown or bohemian like me, doesn't mean that a cop's going to look at you and say, oh, I have to turn you in, because that's not what this is about, I don't think. If I'm wrong, would you educate me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I apologize. We received one more card from Stephanie Harper.
I put the wrong agenda item down, I'm sorry. Okay, so the last time I heard anybody talking about, let me see your papers, was Nazi Germany. That's kind of scary. And seems like a lot of constituents here are really scared too. And when we all think about it, we all are immigrants. Like they were saying, the only real people that deserve to be here are the Indians. So my best friend, she's Mexican. She came here. She got her immigration status, and she's been naturalized. And it reminds me of something that Ronald Reagan said. He said that you can go anywhere else in the country, and you can't become an Italian. You can't become, Portuguese. But you can come to America, and you can become an American. And that's what makes us great. And most of the people that I know that have come here, they're here because they're hard workers. If they've come from oppression, they're working hard. Not like the lazy Americans that I see out here that don't want to have a job, that would rather be on the street and do drugs and not have any responsibility. But these people that come over here, they're working their butts off. They're doing everything they can to make a better life for their children. And when you say that it's not about wanting our police officers to be, military, but you're going to put them in that position. You're going to put them in that position. And right now, all of you guys have a chance to do exactly what Stephen Globe was talking about. Represent us. That means you can push the red button, and it's okay. It's all right to push that red button. Because what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up taking city money out to take care of all this, to put more stuff out. There's going to be problems that we're not going to foresee that's going to happen. And pretty soon, guess what? Paychecks are going to go down. Maybe you guys are going to have to have a cut in pay, and we're not going to be able to pay millions of dollars to our city staff. But I don't really think any of this is about all of this. I think it's not about, go ahead and let's agree with the government or anything like that. I think this is just another step in your political career, Mr. Wells. I don't think it's anything else but you having something to show other people that you've done. And it's not going to be a good one. So, you guys are wrong.
No more cards?
Okay. Bring it back to City Council for discussion. Anybody like to start?
I'll go ahead and start. I think I've talked to residents, and I think that some of the Hispanic community, they have a real fear. And I think that their fear is that their community is targeted. And if, and I'm not saying I'm going to, but if we decide to pass this resolution, that the wording needs to be that it is broad, and that let me back up. I've been to the border, as many, probably some of us have. I've seen the paperwork from China, Brazil, from the Middle East. And so we know that there are bad players from around the world that has come here. And if we are going to say that we are going to do this to make sure that there are bad characters, that we move the bad characters, we need to make sure that we say bad characters from across the nation or across the world, and maybe name some of those nations that have that we have evidence from, China and alike, rather than just not saying anything, because they do have a valid point. It has been the Hispanic community that has been targeted in the past. My daughter, her father is from El Salvador, and I'm 99% sure he is illegal. And so my daughter is brown skin, and so if this were to be enacted, is it possible that my daughter could be targeted? My grandson has Mondragon as a last name. Could he be targeted? I don't want that to happen. My daughter's friends are Hispanic. Many of them are Hispanic. Is that something that they have to worry about? So this would affect my family as well. I think that that is their fear. The Chaldean community, are we going to, make it so that, do we have illegal Chaldeans in the community, or do we have illegal Haitians, illegal Somalis in the community? We don't see them here at the meeting, but are they going to be in fear as the Hispanic community? So that's something that we need to, if we are going to pass it, the wording needs to be broad and make sure that the Hispanic community is not targeted, because they do have a fact, and historically in California they have been targeted. Yes, I originally signed on to support this. But as an adult and as a representative of my community, I'm entitled to change my mind in support as I get more information, and as I get, as people talk to me, I'm entitled to be reserved about supporting this, because sometimes we do sit up here and we get information from staff, we get information from our colleagues, we get information from the federal government, we get information from the state government, but it's all high level. These are the people that we represent. These are the heart and soul of the people that we represent. And I am elected to represent them, not anybody else's, not anyone's agenda. And yes, we need to support the law, but the federal government, they don't know Señora Lambrera. They don't know Señor Pencheca. Lo siento, mi español muy poquito. They don't know these people. I do. And I want to make sure that if I support a resolution that is this important, that I am making it with full knowledge and full information that is going to be the best for my community, because I do not want anyone, and not one children, to be in fear. So that is my 2 cents on this, and I will listen to somebody else.
Gary?
Michelle, you make some very good points, and so do many members of the audience here that have spoken. I want to give you a little bit of my background. My mother was living in Czechoslovakia in September of 1939 when Hitler came in. And they said, oh, well, the Jews have to wear this yellow star, but that's all we're doing. Well, it went from there to she worked for a boss that was Jewish, and the Gestapo came and drug him out of the office and made him wash cars. And then he came back a couple of days later, and then they drug him out again. Nobody ever saw him again. Her best friend from first grade, and my mom was about 20 then, just disappeared. She went over to see her friend at her house, different family living in there, same throw rug, but everybody knew not to ask. So I'm very concerned about civil rights, because things tend to creep along. It gets worse, a little bit worse, and a little bit worse. So I think it's important that we really work hard to safeguard everybody's rights. Our immigrant community is very much a part of the fabric of our society, and I don't want to tear out that fabric. So I think that cooperating with ICE for criminals only, nobody else, is reasonable, because many times these criminals prey upon other people in their own immigrant community. It's been happening for 200 years. However, I do not want to see children drug out of a church or children drug out of school. And I think the people in the audience made very good points regarding our police and the trust that they have to have with the immigrant community. If something happens, a murder or a rape, and someone is undocumented, they're going to be scared to death to come forward as a witness. So what happens? The crime goes up. And and that's what the criminals know. They say, I can get away with all these horrible things because everybody is afraid they'll be deported. So I think that's bad policy. The other thing is that the immigrant community, they are an integral part of our economic system. There's a reason the people are over here, and 99% of them just want to provide for their families and work, and they work hard. So I think this resolution needs to be adjusted with perhaps just one sentence, and that is the police will cooperate only with ICE when there is an actual convicted criminal, because nobody wants criminals in the population. However, the person that's working in some factory in El Cajon or working at a fast food place or a cook, they're not hurting anybody. They actually contribute to society, and a lot of them have employee identification numbers, so they pay into the system, into the Social Security system. Right now, the United States doesn't have a 2.1 birth rate. We're actually going down in birth rate. We need for the success of the Social Security system to have more people coming in. And I believe the vast majority of those people are honest, hardworking people that make this a better place. So there. I just want to, I've been on the city council for 22 years, and I have something, and I've never quoted a Bible verse before, but I'm going to do it today. Deuteronomy 10:19, you shall also love the stranger, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt. And I really thrive in the diversity of El Cajon, because we have 70 different ethnic groups, and we all get along right now remarkably well. And within 5-minute drive of my house, I can have the best Mexican food, the best Thai food, the best Vietnamese food, and all sorts of things, other Afghan food. I like that a lot. And a lot of those people, they come here and they work 12 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week, and they're doing a lot of jobs a lot of the Americans that have been here for a long time don't want to do. I mean, they pick, 70% of our crops. Who's going to pick our crops? You know, there are a lot of landscapers. They're always looking for work. So I think that we need an adjustment to this that says only people convicted of crimes, they're the only ones that we cooperate with ICE on. And I think that's reasonable and a reasonable accommodation. I don't know how my other council members that haven't spoken, I don't know how they think, but I think, that's a compromise that I can live with. Because I don't want the people to be in fear all the time like my mom was. Well, show your papers. Oh, you got the Jewish star. Well, we're going to pick you up and send you to concentration camp and murder you. We never know how far something goes when it always starts with a small group of people. Like they say, well, first they came, for the Jewish people and then for the Catholics and then, and pretty soon, and I didn't speak up, and pretty soon they come for me and there's no one left to speak up. So if I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of civil rights. I mean, that's what our country is based on. That's why we became a country. So, I would suggest to my colleagues that we just add that simple sentence in there, so people aren't in their apartment worried about the police hauling them away just for the fact that they're undocumented, or their kids from a Boy Scout meeting, or for anything, or from church. I don't want the people living here in fear, because my mom went through that. That's all I have to say.
Phil or Steve, did you want to speak?
Well, first, I really appreciate everyone speaking, coming, and I really appreciate everyone staying civil and cordial. We've seen people yell in this council chambers because of different opinions, and I hope that's because of the reputation of the city, as some people have commented. I don't think there's a conservative-led city in the state of California that has been more welcoming to immigrants than El Cajon. I can firmly stand on that. Based off of all the translation services that we provide at every single public event. And there's a lot of different languages that are spoken in El Cajon, and we don't cover all of them, but we cover most of them. But then also the grants that we give out. And, Gary constantly, I think every time you speak at a council meeting, you comment about the food in El Cajon and how amazing it is. I should go out to dinner more with you. And I want to really clearly make a distinction that we're not making or creating immigration policy here. That is not what we're doing in El Cajon. We don't have the jurisdiction or authority to create immigration policy. That is solely on the federal government. And someone said that we're creating a conflict. El Cajon's not creating the conflict. The conflict is between the state of California and the federal government. And that's going to have to get hashed out. And what this letter to Bonta says is you need to clarify with cities, because the governor and the attorney general they just passed a special session to go on a lawsuit to $50 million or however many dollars of money to go against whatever the federal government, Trump's policies are. And small cities like us are caught in the middle. Okay? That's what this is about. We're not creating any kind of immigration policies here. What we're saying is confirmation of the supremacy clause. You guys need to figure this out, because this is creating conflict in our community. And this angst that you're feeling is from our congressional leadership and our state leadership. And so we need clarification as a city as to, are our police officers going to be prosecuted when they talk to a Border Patrol agent or ICE about some fraudster defrauding someone, or a domestic violence felon, or someone that's in line to commit a crime, getting ready to commit a crime? You guys need to figure this out, because this is causing a lot of confusion. And just as worried as the immigrant community is, whether they're illegal or legal, so are our police officers, because they are going to be criminally liable in some of these situations. That's what SB 54 says. SB 54 says that the police officer, the individual that just wants to police and take care of the community and lock up the bad guys, are going to be personally held responsible and locked up. There's a lot of talk about global immigration policy, and we are all a community here. So I want to make sure that we know where the responsibility lies in all of this, that we don't have the authority to create immigration policy. And to be clear, our police officers, we don't have the budget. 70 to 80% of all of our budget is on police and fire. We don't have the resources or budget to turn, like people are saying, we're going to turn to Gestapo. We don't have the budget for that. You guys, if you've called 911, you know it takes a long time. We have a call queue of people calling 911 for emergencies. We don't have the budget for the city to put into that kind of an operation. But we're a reactive police force because we're strained as it is. Someone also said, well, I think we need to make a distinction too, and Gary made it, between the immigrant who has been here for 30 years and is paying taxes and he's a hard-working society. I'm a second generation. My tita came over here pregnant with my mom. Everybody in the crowd that spoke, it feels like I'm back at my family's restaurant in Chicago, El Jardín. So we need to make a distinction between, Gary, you said the criminal. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to make our community safer. It doesn't do any good when we have someone in custody who is a known criminal, and if they're not guilty of it, then we have organizations that are going to make sure that they're not guilty of it. But it doesn't do the community any good to shelter criminals who shouldn't even be here. It does no good. That doesn't help our community. And on top of that, that's on the heels of the County of San Diego passing a super sanctuary city saying County of San Diego cannot deport any illegal immigrants that are felons. Any. And so this is the dynamic that we're dealing with, 3 layers of government above us. The county saying, the County of San Diego saying this is a super sanctuary county. No one, no matter what they did to the immigrant community or citizen, or it doesn't matter, can be deported. Then we're dealing with the state that's defying federal immigration. They have authority over immigration. The states can't decide immigration individually. There has to be some continuity. And so I want to be clear. The people who should be, someone said they're going to be living in fear. The only people that should be living in fear are people who are exploiting and terrorizing our communities that are criminals, whether they're citizens or not. And I know that's what our police force is dedicated to doing. Those are the only people that should be living in fear. I want to make that clear. I don't think anybody on this council disagrees with that. So So,
speak, please.
Yeah, I think we want to, yeah. I want to make sure I get through all my points because there's a lot of passion. I really appreciate everybody just staying civil and everything like that because I think our reputation has shown tremendously that we care about this community and we have to live together. You know, the federal government's 3,000 miles away, state government's even, farther. We have to live together. So I really appreciate that. So, yeah, I'll let Steve and the mayor speak.
I don't always agree with the laws coming out of Sacramento, but I do agree with some parts of SB 54. Immigrants are valuable and essential members of the California community. I agree with that. As my colleague said, the birth rate of those here is 1.5. We're not even replacing ourselves as the generations goes on. We must have immigrants to thrive as America, and California has thrived because of immigration. So I do want to acknowledge and affirm the value of immigration. I also want to affirm that it's important that trust, as SB 54 says, between California's immigrant community and state and local agencies is central to the public safety of the people of California. So I agree with those who say we are scared if all of a sudden we're going to be asked for papers and we won't report certain crimes then. That should not be the case. Our police are, as my colleagues have said, this is not, immigration is not a local, county, or even state issue. It is a federal issue, and my interest is representing you on a local level, and our interest is protecting you. That's the job. That's 75% of our budget is protecting you. So what we really are talking about, I don't know that I agree with the title of this resolution, and I would suggest a change somehow. But the title is Intent to Assist Federal Immigration Authorities. I would rather it said something like intent to ensure all residents' safety from those in the country illegally convicted of crimes or subject to a federal probable cause arrest warrant. That makes more sense, safety-wise. Immigration, that's a federal issue. And our police, by law, cannot stop those and say, what are your papers? It's not their job. Their job is to protect you. I recently was at a conference, and I sat behind an ICE agent. And he said, there's 3,000 of us in the country. And he said, we have 3 mandates. He said, first is crimes against children. That's our first priority. He said, second, it's crimes against women. He said, that's our second priority. He said, third, it's those who are distributing drugs. He said, after that, ICE just doesn't have the manpower or person power to do that. And so this is about safety. The Declaration of Intent of a resolution says the City of El Cajon declares its intent to assist federal immigration authorities for the purpose of removing those posing a threat to public safety from our community. Our intent in this resolution is not to assist federal immigration authorities with immigration issues. We cannot do that. I have no interest in doing that. That is the federal government's responsibility. It is my responsibility, our responsibility, to remove those posing a threat to public safety from our community. That is our local jurisdiction. There are 300,000 unaccompanied minors in this country. We don't know where a lot of them are. We need to find them. There are those who are in this country who are convicted murderers and rapists. We need to find them. That is who we need to find. That is who we need to protect as a local community. We don't need to find somebody who's a landscape owner, who's a housekeeper, who is an accountant, who is an engineer. We're looking for the criminals, and that is who we're trying to find. The relationship between the police and community, absolutely, this is about public safety. When police ask for papers, our police I think our council's position is we don't want our police asking for papers. It's against the law for them to ask for papers. I've heard things about fear-mongering. Your intent is to stop us. You're here for the whole community. Families will hesitate. Let's see, there are a couple other things. My intent with the resolution, and I wish we were to retitle this, is to talk about protecting the community. That's what this is about.
Yeah, I think maybe what we could do is send this back to staff. I mean, Bill, you haven't spoken yet with your conclusion, but I think if we could send it back to staff, we could just make this resolution probably one paragraph that just says the city, the police will cooperate with ICE when there is a crime involved, only with criminals. Everybody else, the police doesn't do anything with. I mean, there's a nice way to say it. I'm not an attorney, and I'm sure Morgan could always come up with something that is legal and sounds really good. But if they started grabbing people out of factories and landscaping and hotel people, I mean, it would really crash our economy. So I think it needs a little more work.
Well, I hate to disagree with you, but I really want to go back to what Phil said. Nobody here is proposing to make immigration policy. This is a debate that's happening in this country, and it's going to be debated at the federal level. It's going to be debated at the state level. But the city of El Cajon is kind of in the middle. We've got the federal government saying, we'll prosecute you if you don't help us. We've got the state of California saying, we'll prosecute you if you do help them. We're just trying to abide by the law. I want to look at I want everybody to take just a step back from the angst about this. Just look at what we're talking about. Declares the intent, not that we're going to, it declares our intent to assist with federal authorities. It requests guidance from the Attorney General. So all we're doing is saying, we took an oath, every single person here took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States. That oath says we have to follow the laws, whether we like the laws or don't like the laws, whether we think they've gone too far or they haven't gone too far. Our intent is to do what we've always done, which is follow the law. But we are in a precarious situation right now. We've got two different government agencies, both of which are higher level than we are, that are taking opposite sides. So we're asking for clarification. I don't think there's anything racist about following the law. I don't think there's anything provocative about doing what we're doing. I don't think we need to send it back. I think that this is something that we have always done. But what's happened is we've gotten very emotional about this and brought in a lot of elements to this that are just not going to happen. Nobody's asked, no Nazi Germany situation is happening here. But it is not up to us. It is not up to the city of El Cajon to make this decision. All we're saying is that when we follow the law, we don't want to be prosecuted. We don't want to, and specifically, the main reason this whole thing came up was because our police officers could be prosecuted, lose their jobs, lose their pension, and be sued civilly if they follow the federal law. So we're just asking for clarification. So we can disagree whether or not it's good to ask for clarification or not. But I want everybody on this council to take a look at what we're looking at here. This is not about making immigration policy. This is not about taking sides. This is about asking clarification. Is what's going to happen to our city? What's going to happen to our police officers? Where do we stand legally? And I think it's completely reasonable for us to make that request. And so I would make a motion to adopt this resolution based upon what I'm saying.
Mr. Mayor, why do we have to make a resolution? Why? Why?
We don't have to, but I but I want to.
Why? But
you have a right to vote no on that.
No, I understand that, but why? Okay, we requested guidance from the Attorney General. He has not responded. We've already done that. We didn't need a resolution to do that. We don't need a resolution to recognize the importance to maintain public trust. The public is here. The majority of the public is here right now. They are not trusting us. We don't need their. We need their approval. We need their public trust. Maybe this is something that we should be bringing up to them. And not only that, reaffirm the commitment to public safety. No. Why do we need to bring a resolution to reaffirm a commitment to public safety? Why do we need to do a resolution? Isn't this something that should be inherent in our positions?
Well, the reason we need to is because the state of California is at odds with the federal government, and we need to take a stand. So,
okay.
So I've got a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'd like to make a substitute motion.
Sure.
I'd like to make a substitute motion that we send this back to staff for some rewording that acknowledges some of the concerns that we've heard today and the comments that you've heard from the council, and to come up with if we're going to get a resolution, we need to affirm the existing community's value, and we need to emphasize the purpose of protecting all citizens, all residents, from those who have committed crimes who are here in the country illegally. So I think it needs better wording, and I would make a motion that we kick this back to staff.
I'll second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion carries by a 4-1 vote. Councilmember Mayor Wells voting no.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate you participating in this democracy exercise. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back in about 5 minutes.